Um, Thinking about how I learned to read, this one was actually a challenge for me because, to be honest, I have no idea. Sorry, not how I learned to read, how I learned to write. Thinking about this was a challenge for me because I do not remember at all how I learned how to write. Um, but the one thing I do remember is my first college paper. Um, it was English 101. And I was a 25-year-old student, 26 maybe. And, but I had received all my education in Ireland. And as you know, in Ireland, we use English, not American English. So there's English spelling is different than American spelling. And I remember the first paper I wrote, um, I obviously used spelling in English and not American English. And I brought my paper to the professor, and he's like, "This is wrong." And I'm like, "No, it's not." He's like, "Yes, it is." And I'm like, "That's how you spell it." And he basically said, "Well, you're not in Ireland anymore. You're in America now." And that was my first experience that I remember with writing. And it wasn't a very good one. So then, how did I learn how to write academic papers from that experience? Well, you could say the challenge was real. Although one speaks a language that everybody can understand, when you use different dialect or different words to describe something, or different spelling, it is a challenge. So, in the readings that I read, I was reading about Gilliland and the things that she used or she recommends using, like teaching fluency, using word association, um, using looping, or, calling out words in a set pattern. I don't remember doing any of those things. And that's the truth. Now, I do those things with my students, but I've never been taught them myself or used them for reading or for writing. I apologize. So I would say free writing is the one that is used most everywhere. I know that they say free writing is a good way of kids writing, but even when I was a library media specialist, I found that when you gave kids free writing, they didn't know what to write, even if they could write about anything. And so sometimes giving that topic is easier because then they have to focus on, it's like, okay, and not just a broad topic, something that they can actually write about, that they know something about. Um, then, again, because I don't have not personally been taught these, it's like, okay, how and what else would I do with my students? And I loved the games that they talked about, rewards or consequences. And I'm like, do I want a reward or a consequence? And it was like, write or die. That to me was like, whoa, maybe it will be good for some kids to use something like that to help them right, because they're playing a game. I do find that, especially elementary students, boy, their minds are constantly on games and going home to play games, no matter what the age. So I also think that, I do believe in planning, and I know that Gutierrez mentioned that when I was reading. It's like, make a plan for writing, and I feel like that's what I do personally with everything. It's like I have to be able to write something down. It helps my thoughts go on paper, even though it's not a sentence. Like scribble, I scribble an awful lot, and then I can scribble it out and then put it into a paper. And that's the kind of thing I would like to teach some kids too, because I think it actually benefits me. So if it can benefit me, it might benefit somebody else. And I never thought of kind of sharing that experience with someone else on writing, on being able to write, and on teaching writing. But they did say that free writes were the quickest. So I'm still not sure how I feel about that personally, since I have used them quite often as a library media specialist with especially my fourth and fifth graders. But they always seem to get stuck, even when I said you could do whatever you wanted. So Thank you for listening.